Hey, what's up everybody? How you doing? Welcome back to Karpo Gaming and another Throne and Liberty video. Well, the devs have basically laid it all out. How loot works in Throne and Liberty. Whether it be from conflict or peace zones. If you was confused why you're not getting drops or why you should, well today we're going to break it down step by step. You know what to do. Let's go! Once again, thanks for watching everybody. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. This is an amazing article I will link down below of how loot is distributed in Throne and Liberty. So if you was confused, pay attention because it's all about contribution. See, contribution is earned by doing damage against enemies and healing friendly players. So healers, no worries. In battle, while said enemies is active, contribution from healing is acquired for healing players, both in and out of your party when participating in guild level events, which are field bosses. And event items, loot that is dropped during dynamic events. Well, this is an overview of how you can get all of these and how it is broken down from the devs. Let's start off with general activities. For open world farming, abyss dungeon farming, quests, contracts, dynamic events, co-op dungeons excluding the final reward chest. This is going to be applicable to all enemies, normal, elite, and party elite. These are the distribution rules for open world farming and abyssal dungeons. Okay? Now, when an enemy dies, loot is assigned to the player who first earned contribution, which is the first player who dealt damage to the enemy. Now, if the player is in a group, loot is assigned to the player's party instead. In this case, the loot drops from the enemy that has an equal chance of distributing across all party members. The only exception is party members that have no contribution and are out of range that will be excluded from the drop pool. All items are evenly distributed when possible. This means if there are 10 items that are dropped for a party of 5, each player should receive 2 items. If even distribution is not possible, it will randomly select a player to receive the extra drops. And solid and experience are distributed evenly. Alright, now that we know how that works, let's move on to peace mode bosses in guild raids. This is going to be the world events, right? Like Mordecai. The distribution rules. Number 1, when a peace mode field boss dies, all players are sorted by individual player contribution. A guild's overall contribution does not play a role for peace mode bosses or guild raids. Alright, now players who meet a minimum contribution to be eligible to receive loot from bosses is as follows. Now, there are 2 drop types that come from peace mode bosses. Contribution drops. Each item is distributed based on chance according to individual contributions. So even if you're flying solo, you still get to go. Now, random drops. Each item is randomly provided only to remaining players who did not receive one of the contribution drops. So if you didn't hit that number to get one of the contributions, you then placed in a random roll drop, right? Now, a single player is only eligible to receive one of these drops. So in other words, a single player cannot receive more than one epic equipment item from a single boss encounter. You're either going to be placed in the contribution pool or the random roll pool. And Salient and experience are distributed evenly. Alright, that's for the peace mode bosses and guild. Alright, so for example, let's assume that the field bosses drop the following loot when defeated. Contribution drops are a sword, a mask, 1,000 solid, and the random drop is boots. Assuming you've met the minimum requirement described above, if your contribution was 3% of the total contribution, you would have a 3% chance of acquiring either the sword or the mask. All players that met the minimum contribution requirement would have an equal chance to acquire the boots. Regardless of the total contribution, any player who receives epic equipment is unable to attain a second piece of equipment that is epic from the same boss kill. So that's the way it is going to work for peace mode events. Okay, let's move on to conflict modes. This is for PvP. Alright, this is going to be applicable to field bosses as well. Let's go. Number 1, loot is assigned in 2-stage process. First, loot is assigned to a guild. Then the loot is assigned to the players within the guild. When a field boss dies during conflict mode, a guild contribution is calculated as the sum of the individual's contribution for each player in the guild who participated in the fight. So you participate in the fight, you have a percentage that you're participating with. Alright? Now the guild are then sorted based on contribution. Guilds must meet a minimum contribution to be eligible to receive loot from the bosses. So as a guild, you have a percentage rate, and then as an individual, you have a percentage rate as well. Right? Now loot items are distributed based on the chance according to the guild's contribution. Note, unlike peace mode bosses, dying to an enemy or another player during a conflict mode boss will result in the dying player losing 70% of the individual contribution. This is huge, so you try not to die. But no worries, even if you do die, it's only individual that loses 70%, meaning it reduces the guild's total contribution at the end of the match, so it's not as bad, but it's still not good. Alright, now once a guild has been assigned an item, all participating players within the guild have an equal chance to obtain the item. So if you are in a conflict zone and your guild is kicking tail, well then you probably want to get the drop as a guild. And then individually, depending on your contribution, then you might get the drop, right? And of course, Salient and XP is distributed evenly. Now I have an example. For example, let's assume that the field drops the following loot when defeated. He dropping a sword, a mask, and 1000 Salient. If player A, B, and C had 10%, 15%, and 20% contribution respectively, and all belong to the same guild, then the guild contribution would be a total of 45% if you add that all up. This means that the guild would have a 45% chance to acquire the sword and mask. Now, if the guild successfully acquired the mask, then the players A, B, and C would each have an equal chance to receive the mask. Now, that is pretty cool, and I'm glad that they broke this down for us, because there has been a lot of people, including myself, that has been confused on the way loot drops. I knew about the total contribution and that you needed to have a percentage rate. What percentage rate it was, I had no idea, but at least now we finally know exactly how loot is going to be distributed in Throne and Liberty. Remember, I'm gonna leave a link down below so you can check out this article yourself. It is a lot. I'm definitely gonna read this over again, and if you want to watch the video again, definitely do that. It's definitely gonna help me out. It's gonna help you out as well. But for right now, that's pretty much going to for the video. I hope you truly enjoyed it. Now, as always, if you are new to the channel, how you doing and welcome. Don't forget to subscribe. Right here at Karpo Gaming, upload a wide variety of videos ranging from updates, tips and tricks, guides and news, and a whole lot more. So hopefully enjoyed this video. Once again, thank you everybody for all your love and support. And as always, I'll be seeing y'all in the next one. Later.